Hello and welcome back to the Connection Compass podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Louise Evans. To find out more about my work, please visit andrealevans.com. This week, we meet Alicia Sweezer. Multifaceted and multi-talented in her nature, she uses her super analytical skills and intuitive gifts to help people make tremendous foundational changes in their mindset, behavior, and relationships. As an animal consultant, she bridges the gap between you and your pet. In today's episode, Alicia and I sit down to talk about pet loss and healing after pet loss, and the services that Alicia provides to support people through that process. Please note that in this episode, Alicia and I both talk about our experiences of pet loss. Hello, Alicia. Welcome to the Connection Compass podcast. How are you today?
I am doing wonderful. It's morning my time, which I know is different from where you are. So it is a fabulous Monday, and I'm so excited to be here.
I am looking forward to our chats as well. So, for our listeners, would you mind just explaining a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. So I am an animal communicator and medium, which means that I can talk to animals that are still in their body as well as those that have transitioned to the spirit form. And one of my passions is helping pet parents with whatever fun adventures, challenges, medical, end of life decisions that they need to make with their beloved, beloved pets. And mine is a little bit of a different story because I used to be a wildlife biologist. And so I have this fabulous science background that I get to offer to my clients as well and have really, really great conversations about bodies and behaviors and help them get a more comprehensive picture of what's going on with their pets.
This is going to be fascinating, isn't it? And could you share a bit about us that transition from the wildlife biologist to this new thing that you're doing, the helping pet parents? I mean, that's another we'll move on to that bit. Let's start let's start with this. Let's start about how did you move from one to the other?
So I was actually born with my gift, and I was one of those kids that was just always really good with animals, and I'm introverted, right? So it was just seemed natural to the world of like, oh, she's just always off with the dog or the cat or whatever lizard she happened to have found that day. And so for me, it's like breathing. You don't know that you do something different when it's just always been there. And it's a funny story because I actually thought it was a wildlife biologist thing. Like I thought all wildlife biologists talked to animals because that's what I always wanted to be as a kid. And I was pretty far along in my career. I was like in my 30s when I realized that not all wildlife biologists talk to animals. And there's pretty funny stories in the field. We were tagging, bagging, banding. I think we were actually banding birds. And I had said something to one of the guys, and I was like, "You don't, talk to the birds that were," and they all just kind of stared at me. And I was like, "All right, I'm gonna go stand over here because clearly we're not having the same conversation that I thought we were having." And so it was one of those gradual things where I learned that just not everybody does this. And then my life took a very hard left turn by way of a traumatic brain injury and learning my way of how to heal my body, open my modalities more, all of the physical therapy, all of those kind of things really led me to opening my gifts and how I can actually serve people and animals in a whole different way. And then I do everything by intuition. I follow the messages that I get, and it was just every step along the way of like, you're going to do this, you're going to open a business. And I was like, I have never had a business before. I have no idea how to do that. And so you figure out how to do that. And then for any human design people out there, I'm a 3-5, so you will totally understand how that fits into journeys like this. And so I just followed my intuition, and here I am today, years later, being able to be of service. So not a straight line at all.
Well,
No.
would you explain it as all pieces coming together, different parts of the time, and then bringing it together to create a whole? I talk about that a lot on this podcast, but I think if you you've gone down these routes and that are not quite traditional, you find that little pieces come together and it isn't linear.
Absolutely. It's very much finding the puzzle pieces and, as much as it sounds cliche, trusting the process. Even that doesn't mean it's easy or comfortable by any means, but it's like, okay, because you don't get all of the steps, right? The universe, God, source, whatever your language is, it's like you get the next step and the next step. And as humans, we like to have all the steps. Like me, also, I
Yeah.
was like, I want to see them all before I decide. But the thing is like usually step three is like challenging. So if you see step three ahead of the time, you're going to be like, mm-mm, I don't want to do it. But if you get all the way through step 2, like, you're in it, you're like, "Fine, I'll do step 3." And so it's very, like, puzzle piece, breadcrumb, whatever analogy you wanna use, but that doesn't change. Like, that once
Yeah.
you start, really having your awakening and going down that path, that's what it looks like forever, is always
Yeah.
the pieces waiting for them to come in.
It's a bit like the big sigh, isn't it? Like, bring it on.
Yep. "Fine, I will do it, just bring it, I will do it."
So,
Sometimes I'll complain, but I'll still do it.
yeah, I understand that. So, is your business called Who Knew Healing? Is that the reason of the text that's above your head? Is that is that the name of your business?
It is. So, yeah, and I did not name my business. It was
Mm.
funny, I was actually at a friend's house, and I was setting up, like, my website and the meetup group and all these kind of things, and I left her house, and she had this big awning over the front porch, and, like, it's just one of those things because people always ask, like, "How do you know?" "How do you get your intuitive hits?" And I stepped out from underneath that awning to go to my car, and I literally felt something hit my head, and I was like,
Mhm.
"What?" And I heard "Who Knew Healing?" And I was like, "What? I'm gonna do what? You want me to name my business what?" And so then the message behind that was, who knew that the science girl, right? Because 'Cause I'm super analytical, super logical, but it's like, who knew the science girl could also be woo-woo? Who knew that you can take the analytical and the magical and the mystical and combine them? And that is one of my superpowers. And so, no, I take no credit in naming, but that's what it is.
It's just fascinating. It's amazing, but I'm having more conversations with more people who are connecting the scientific, that's very logical, with the fluid and the mystic and bringing them together to create something. And it's amazing to see, really, because we're then getting these real holistic services way that is taking a bit of everything to create something wonderful for people. So what would you say is the main part of your work? Is it helping pet parents whose pets have passed over? Is it like the after support or l a mix of lots of different things?
There is a mix but a large portion, at least at this point in time, is if someone gets a medical diagnosis and they don't know what to do, they don't know because say it's a terminal medical right? So we've got cancer, lymphoma, any of those kind of things. And one, it's devastating for us just as pet parents because we love our animals. And so when we get that, there's so much confusion, there's so much fear, there's so much overwhelm. There's the financial aspect of it, which plays a huge role in a lot of the decisions. And so I'm able to step in and be that bridge to let pet parents know, like, does your animal want the treatment? If they do, this is what it looks like. If they don't, this is what it looks like for care until their transition time. Do they want medicine? Do they want this? Do they want that? And and then the other huge part is, like, the end of life transitions, like, when we're at that place. Whether you've had a you might just have an older animal or medical issues or just anything that happens in that. Like, those are so very, very dear to my heart. I've been through it, and it's to be able to provide answers and information and comfort in those moments is just such a privilege and an honor to be able to give to people. And then there's also a large portion of people who didn't find me before. And so their animal has transitioned and they're carrying around guilt. They're carrying around the what ifs. Like there's, did I pick the right time? Is it what they wanted? If there was a financial aspect to it, like they couldn't afford the treatment, those are huge, huge things. And so to
Mhm.
be able to provide that information to pet parents, because our animals do not want us walking around for the rest of our human experience here having the guilt and the stress. Like that is not what they want for us. And so to be able to provide that information really, really is life changing for the pet parent that is here, because I'm very much, it's like we're in relationship with our pets. So it's about that. It's like if the human is as much part of it as the animal in our sessions. And because if it's not working for one half, it's not working for the other. And
Yeah.
so I address both sides, the human and the animal in it, and be like, how do we make this better on all fronts? Like, where's the win-win?
Mm.
So, and then I have other things of like behavioral training, abuse recovery. You get an animal from the rescue, right? And then they have all of these things, and so we have a lot of conversations about that, and do a lot of healing work to where some of that stuff just really, really changes. And now your
Yeah.
animal can relax in your home. You know what's going on, and now you have this fabulous relationship moving forward.
Yeah, I can really see how having a service like that would be really helpful. I didn't think I was gonna talk about this, but it makes sense to absolutely. But as pet owner who I lost my cat, Lenny, in 2022. He was 8, just coming up to his ninth birthday, and he was diagnosed with lymphoma. To look at him, you would never have known that he had this lymphoma. He'd had to have some surgery on his ear a couple of months beforehand in the year before, which he recovered from really well. And it was just such a shock to find out that he had this diagnosis. And you're absolutely right. There is this confusion that nobody ever really explains to you or talks to you about at what point do you make that decision for your pet, for this loving pet that you've cared for. And it's traumatic. That bit is traumatic because on one hand, you have a vet saying, well, he's really sick. You can keep him on the steroids, but that's not a long term solution. And you're looking at your pet and you're thinking, well, he's eating, he's eating and he's drinking. He's not playing as much as he was. So, but at this moment in time, I don't feel like I can say, right, come on, Lenny. Like, today's the day. It happened quite quickly, really, over a period of a few weeks. There was this deterioration, and then the vet started phoning me and saying, how are things? Do you think you should start reducing the steroids? And I didn't want to. And but still in my head, that confusion, am I doing the right thing or am I not doing the right thing? But I had this thing inside. I talk about it a lot on the podcast as well, this inner knowing that
Mhm.
that Lenny would know, that Lenny would know what to do, or when the time was right. And I decided that we were going to stay at home. So, funnily enough, the previous year, I had a colleague whose pet had died as well, and they found a service that was local to me. She wasn't local, who will come to the home and put Lenny to sleep. So I was determined to stay at home. But in my head, I had this complete conflict, all the time about whether I was doing the right thing. Anyway, it's quite hard.
It's hard.
Yeah,
It's
it's really
hard.
hard. On the day that it happened, so the night before, there wasn't anything unusual apart from I'd noticed that his extremities were getting cold. And he was still eating up until that point. The next morning, he was there. He seemed okay. He didn't eat, and I was working, heard him vomit, got up, and then I saw him get up. And as he got up, obviously his back legs were going, and I was just like, "Oh, it's today! It's today! It's today!" I was panicking, but you know what? I Everything that happened was the right thing that happened. So I'd been just putting it out there, just praying, like, please, can we just have some time in the garden with the sun on his face? And we got to do that. We got to spend some time in the garden. And then he just we got to a point and he wanted to get down because I had him in my arms at one point, and he just walked in and he just jumped into this box, just did this meow, and then he he was obviously unconscious, but then he had that thing where the nervous system was shutting down, and they had that jerking movements, and oh, I don't know how long this is going to last for. So then I called for the vet, and they were there within 20 minutes. And but it's just the most heart-wrenching thing. And afterwards I thought, no, I did the right thing. I just had this knowing inside, but I can understand I can understand that conflict because it was with me every single day. Am I doing the right thing? Mm,
It is, it's one of the hardest things as pet parents that I think we go through,
mm,
and even me because it is possible to talk to your own animals, but it can be really, really difficult, and when you're emotional, it's it's
mm.
really difficult, and if you have bratty animals like me who, make it hard just for fun, and then you add that on top of it, like, when Pip was I was like, "Can you just tell me?" Like, he was diagnosed with diabetes, and then it was very clear that he didn't wanna do the shots, and so we had about 3 months of just keeping him comfortable, trying to keep him eating,
Yeah.
and it's a lot. If anyone's ever had a diabetic cat, it consumes every second of your life, and but it's hard. And I was walking around going, "How do people do this without someone like me?" The whole I was like, "How are they doing this?"
Mm,
And it's one of those things that it's not always really clear. It is, and even with Pip, like, I always told him, I mean, one, I was like, "Can you just go in your sleep, please? Could you just go in your sleep?" Because
yeah.
I have to sedate him to take him to the vet because he hates the vet. He was abused at a vet, like, it's a whole thing. And which, of course, he wasn't gonna go there was not one part that this boy ever made certain things easy for me because he was my biggest teacher. And and then one day, I looked at him, I think it was like a Tuesday, and I heard Saturday. And I
Uh,
was like, "Okay, so Saturday will be the day." Like, I scheduled the appointment, I paid for it ahead of time so that all I had to do. And but that's the thing, like, that I want people to know. That's one of the you hear I will scream it from the rooftops forever because don't wait.
mm,
Find whether it's me or someone else because those moments, those weeks, months that you have left, if you have that information up front, that changes the experience. Because if you would have had someone that what if, am I doing the right? Because Lenny would have been like, this is what I want. This will, they usually give a sign of like, this is
yeah.
when you'll know it's time. Like they deliver that information to you. And so you don't have to worry about that for the time that you have. So you can have that filled with joy and laughter and telling stories because they usually want you to do that too. Like let's talk about when I was a kitten or a puppy. Like they love reliving. They're no different than people. They love reliving that stories. Or hey, take me to my favorite place one more time. So
Mm,
the experience of that twilight period can be so so different if
yeah.
you have that information. So please, anyone listening, or if you've got friends that are pet parents, let them know that it can be very very different.
Yeah, it and get those few hours that we had together, they were just perfect, and even when we were in the garden, Eddie, my other cat, went to sit by him for a bit, and it's such a hard thing to lose a pet as it is to lose a who's a family member. But yeah, I was always grateful for those moments, and there's always a bit of kind of comedy to it, I suppose, as well. But Lenny and Eddie were quite close. They were siblings. They were born in shelter, and but they had a bit of a love-hate relationship as well. But, boys, boy
Boy cats.
yeah, boy cats, yeah. They look like a couple of gangsters walking around the garden sometimes or, like, down the street, and sometimes they had this fight. When Lenny had passed over, the vet said to me, "Oh, go and get your other cat." So I put him next to Lenny. He's smelt Lenny, and then he just walked off. I was talking to a colleague a bit later on, and she said, "Oh, how's Eddie?" Like, I go, "Oh, he's okay. He got to say bye." And she said, "Where is he now?" And I looked out the window, and he was sat on Lenny's favourite spot, washing his paws, as if to say, "Well, I may as well have this now. He's gone."
Boy kitties. Oh, I'm not surprised at all.
It's gone like half an hour.
Right.
He's
Spot's open now, we're done. Like,
yeah. No point.
yeah, they're
So
very matter of fact. They really, really are. They are just so precious, but when it comes to death, animals are very matter of fact about it because they know it's a transition. They know there's more. Humans can learn a lot from them. And so they say their goodbyes. They know because they can see, cast up like they can see when they come back to visit in spirit form. So for them, it's just they're not in body anymore.
mm.
And particularly with you two, like I'm just with Eddie, like he's cracking me up because he's like, of course I'm gonna go sit in his favorite spot. Like that's what brothers do, right? They just do that stuff to each other. And I'm not surprised at all that that's what he did.
So do you also help people with so they've had a pet and they've lost, and then about bringing a new pet
Mhm.
into that space? Because that's hard as well, isn't it? And it tends to be a process. I have another little cat who's it's her birthday today. She's 1. I'd forgotten.
Willow?
Willow is 1.
Happy birthday, Willow.
Oh, I forgot. Terrible.
Shh, we won't tell her. Give her treats when we're done.
So I introduced a new cat last year, last August, but that was a process to go through as well. So would you help people with that journey as well to bring a new pet?
Absolutely, because, I mean, anytime there's a change, it's helpful to have information, it's helpful to give your animals the floor, basically, as I call it. It's like when we give them the floor, like, they get to say the things that are important to them and speak to it and, process any emotions they have around it and their feelings and beliefs, and so sometimes I'll have pet parents ask, uh, "Does the animal that is still here in body want another pet to come in?" And sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. And so you get that information, and if they do, then we talk about, like, time frames. We talk about whether it's another cat, whether it's another dog, whether, we're mixing it up. We can ask whether it's male or female, right? They get to say those preferences because we all know what it's like when you bring an animal in that's not a match,
Mm,
right? And then things go sideways over and over and over, and then sometimes you have to rehome, which that's the thing, we have such a stigma in at least in the US, in society about rehoming, and I get it because we're not talking about the situations where people view their pets as, like, disposable and that
mm,
sort of thing, but when the situation really isn't working, like I said, if it's not working for you, it's not working for them, and so and from the spiritual aspect, it's like when you rehome, you're getting them to the family they're meant to be with. And because sometimes you're just the step in between. You get them out of the shelter and then they get to the human family that they're supposed to be with. And so, if we can shift some of the thought process around rehoming, because a lot of times people will keep an animal and everybody is suffering because
mm,
they don't want to be judged because they rehomed an animal. And so just
mm.
wanted to get on my soapbox about that a little bit, and because, like I said, if it's not working for everybody, it's not working. And so, yes, we absolutely get to have those conversations of, is this the time? What does it look like? I'll have clients come to me and they'll have a couple they're looking at, a couple of animals, and they're like, it's this one, and this one. And we'll try and be like, this is the one that's a match. So
Yeah.
then, and they're like, oh, that's the one I thought too. And then they'll go adopt that one. And then they'll bring it in and we'll talk about the transition and introducing them and what that can really look like. Because the other part too is, any of life's, like I said, when something changes. So one of the things I help people with is when you're bringing a new baby home, because
Yeah.
that's a huge change for animals. Dogs
Yeah.
a little bit more than cats, but there's now something here that's taking time that you would normally be giving all of your time and attention to your pet. You now have a newborn. And what does that look like? And behaviors, animals can start to act out because they're just not getting the attention that they usually get, or the schedule has changed, which cats are super routine oriented. I mean, everyone talks about dogs, but you mess up a cat's routine, all kinds of behaviors can show up. And so that's one of the things also, you change jobs.
Mm.
You go from working at home to now working in the office, and your animals are doing some behaviors that are less than favorable. They're chewing things, they're peeing outside the box, they're,
Yeah.
doing all of these things. So, yeah, that whole realm of what does that look like? The human animal interaction and how do we have our life together is really, really important. And I get to help with that.
Yeah. I would have said, if you'd have asked me about Eddie, I would have said he wouldn't, he didn't want another pet, another sibling. But my heart was yearning for it. I absolutely loved our time together, but I couldn't get used to being a one cat household. There was like this big void. And so I thought a female kitten would be perhaps more amenable, more acceptable than perhaps a male cat or a male kitten. I mean, she does annoy him a little bit, but he's actually quite loving with her, really. And every so often, she does go a bit over the top and he does like snarl at her, but she
They're
just
cats.
she just ignores him. It just goes back for more. So
No, but you absolutely did perfect. Like, I would agree, like, I've been like, "Yep, Eddie would be fine being an only kitty," and he also knows, he loves you so much, and he's like, "My human needs other parts," and so, yes, a female like, you did perfect. A female kitten, and Willow, she's just fabulous. So, all of like, if we were having so I'd be like, "You did it exactly. I wouldn't have changed one thing." So,
yeah, and I told you about the story as well when I went to go and see the litter that she was part of, and there was 2 female kittens, and I said, "I'm not sure which one, but I'll come and see them and choose one." And I put it out there. I was like, "Please, I just need the right one, the right match for Eddie." And the shelter, she was like in a room, and then it had an outdoor enclosure, and Willow was the only female cat in the room, and the other one stayed outside. She never came in. And they said to me, "Oh, do you want to meet the other one?" I said, "No, no, no, I'll go this one." And she's just a character. She's just this she's tiny. She's like an old soul in a kitten's body, and she's just a big personality. She's absolute gorgeous, and Eddie doesn't mind her. He doesn't it was love at first sight for her, but he's like, "No."
yeah. He's like, "You're my little sister." Like,
Yeah.
this is,
You can
so
play yeah, it's like you can play with Mattel for a little bit, but then I'll let you know whenever
yeah.
I know. So, yeah.
And she like you said, she doesn't care. She's like, "I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do,"
Yeah, she
and,
doesn't.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, which is like I said, you did it beautifully. They're
Yeah.
a great, great match, and well done listening to your own intuition and
Yeah.
following those puzzle pieces.
It's funny because when I got Willow, I would never have said she was like Lenny, but she is. And she feels like him in a funny way. And I think I told you, I say to her, "Do you know Lenny? Do you like" and she looks away.
She's like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah, that's little face. She just looks away like this. I don't know. I don't know.
Like, "La, la, 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 la,
Yeah.
la."
Animals are just such great companions, aren't they? I mean, Willow is I always say she's a heart healer. She really is. She's just closed something that was just this huge void that I just couldn't get rid of.
And that happens. It's, there's so much. One of the things that I speak to as publicly as I can, but also with my clients is their grief over a pet dying, transitioning is so judged and downplayed. Like, it's constantly like, "Well, it was just a dog. It's just, well, why are you still sad? It was 2 weeks ago. It was just a cat." And people don't understand, and that's fine. That's their belief, like, right? No judgment against them. That's not how we're made. Like, us animal people is like, those are my family members. Like, when Pip transitioned, I still have grief moments.
Yeah.
And yesterday I was cleaning some stuff and I opened this envelope, it was this big, and I was like, "What is this envelope?" And it was his certificate of cremation.
Mhm.
And I was, like, ugly crying, like, and it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, this is where that envelope has been,"
Mhm.
because he's on my desk in his urn, but it doesn't it gets better like it does when a human transitions, but it's still there, and the process can take as long as it does, but other people in society is always like, "Oh, you should be over it by now. Oh, what do you mean there's a hole in your heart?" All of those kind of things that we experience are very, very true and valid, and so when anyone listening, when people say those things to you, just understand that that's where they are, that's how they're made, and that's okay, and your feelings still matter and are valid and are true and are normal. There are so many people going, "Oh, I must not be normal. There must be something wrong with me." It's like, "No,
Mhm.
this is normal."
I had a feeling of guilt as well of bringing in a new pet because I felt like I was not replacing Lenny, but perhaps letting go. S I was crying up to the point that I was leaving the house to go and pick her up, but there was all these feathers around the house, and I just thought, "Oh, maybe it's okay. Maybe this is okay," and or outside. It was probably Eddie. Eddie's probably had found a bird or something, but
Right.
there was all these
Like,
feathers around the
we're
garden.
gonna take the sign as what, like, we're gonna make it mean something else. We're not. That's so funny.
I mean, it really helped me that day, whatever it was, it was, it just really helped to calm things down, and then, when she came in the house, it just felt right.
Yeah.
Um,
And our animals, like, they never have that thought. They never feel like, "Oh, you're bringing another animal in, so you must be replacing me." Like, that's a human thought. Like, that's how humans think in society,
yeah.
and animals don't have that thought. It doesn't exist for them, and so anyone listening, like, if you want to, or you're thinking about it, or you have and you're still carrying around some guilt, please, please, please release it, because your animal does not want you to be walking around feeling any of those things. Our animals want us to be happy and healthy and remember them in all of their glory that they are, because they're always like, "Yes, I was the best ever." But they absolutely want us to have more animals because they know how humans are made. They're like, it's this whole thing of humans always think they're the best species on the planet, and there are so many things that we can learn from animals, and they know us better than we know ourselves. And they're like, "Well, of course you need another animal. Like, you're a human." You know what I mean? They're like, "You're just a little human. Of course you need more than one. Of course you," like, they see us that, like, "Of course, because you're human. You're so cute. Like, go get another animal." And so they never want us to carry around those things. It's not real for them. That's all human thoughts.
Mhm. I always say Lenny and Eddie taught me about unconditional love because they were both such a force of energy when they came into the house, and they were quite challenging when I think about it. When I look back, whenever you didn't want them to do something, they would just do it, and it doesn't matter how many times you pulled them away or you said no, they would
Yep.
just, create. well, sometimes I still do, but I had an endless amount of gifts that took about 5 years out of my life. My nervous system was a complete wreck, sometimes. And I always say that that was their purpose together. I mean, Eddie he's just so loving. He loves crystals and having the candle on and sitting down watching TV, whereas Lenny was just a wild cat. It's interesting. So a really important service and important, like you were saying about the importance of getting help. But the service that I used that was local to me, they were so, so caring. And there was just this one point where when I'd phoned for the vet to come and I spoke to the lady on the other end of the phone and she was saying to me, "Do you not want more time?" And I was like, "No, I know it was coming. He's ready." And I knew it was coming. I just kept saying he was so cold. He was so cold. Anyway, Lenny went to be cremated and he came back to me the following day and she gave me the little box with his name on it and a little paw print, which is just gorgeous. It was just gorgeous what they did. And I said, "Oh, is it like really tight? Do I need to be careful? Is it well packed?" And she just said to me, "Yeah, he's all tucked up in there. He's nice and warm. I put extra padding in to keep him warm." My heart just broke, but at the same time, I was thinking, I didn't know I needed that, but I absolutely did. It's
Yep, I'm trying so hard not cry right
I
now.
know, it's just it really gets you, doesn't it? I can't believe I'm actually telling you without crying because
This is what it looks like when
Mm.
people, whether it's the human side of my business or the animal side of my business, this is one of my gifts that's a privilege is people always feel safe. And I hear that sentence all the time, whether I'm in line at the grocery store or in a session where someone they're like, I can't believe I'm telling you this. I've told no one this my whole life. So it's very, very much a gift for me.
So for people who have lost their pets, the services that you provide, whether it's like with training or what would you say people benefit from it the most? What do they how does it support them? Relief.
Yep. That's the first thing that because Re r regardless of what situation you're in, whether it's training or medical or end of life transition, making all those decisions, one of the things as humans we get really one of the things that really stresses us is the information and the resources. Like, where do we find the person that can give us this information? What do we do? Where do we if you have an animal that needs specific veterinary care, now you're like, "Oh, now I gotta go find a specialist." And you're like, "Where is that?" Right? But if you have that, your whole nervous system relaxes.
Mm.
As humans, information and resources are one of the key things that allow us to feel safe and relax our nervous system. So I'm able to provide information. I'm a resource. I'm also someone who, like I'm always gathering information on if it's something I don't like, I got someone for you. I recently came in contact with a woman here who does animal acupuncture and she's amazing. So I refer, when my pet clients are like, I'd like some acupuncture. I'm like, I have someone. Well, and the trainers, like met some really, really great trainers through my clients. And so now if someone's like, I'm looking for someone specifically for this, it's like, I have someone. And so that's one of the things is like resources, but also information. When you have that, then you know what to do.
Mm.
And everything just goes, okay, I can
Yeah.
handle this. The overwhelm goes away. The confusion, the what ifs, right? As humans, we really challenged with the what if hamster wheel, and that can all go away. And it's really, really one of those things that people don't think about where, we're taught so much in society of like, "Oh, it'll be okay, just, sort of suck it up. It's not that bad." And that's one of the things I've been speaking to a lot lately of like, don't wait. Like, where are you in your life tolerating something where it's like, it's not that bad, but what if it could be better? You
Mm.
know, like, why w like, let's give that gift to ourself. It's like your dog at home is having some separation anxiety, and it's like, it's not that bad, but if you're at work thinking about that all day, like, what mess am I gonna walk into in my home? Like, what's gonna be destroyed? Your nervous system is on fire all day while you're trying to work because that's in the back of your mind. That affects your human health, right? Your cortisol's up, your adrenaline's up, and then that energy, you walk in the house with that fear, your animal feels that, and now everybody's off to the races of like, "Oh my god, what is happening?" And it's like, what if that could be better? Like,
Mm.
having specific information for your animal of, like, why that's going on can
Yeah.
change everything, and I'm a tool in the toolbox, right? We've got vets, we've got animal communicators, we've got trainers, we've got acupuncture, we got all the things, so it's like, you get specific information from me, then you can go to the vet and be like, "This is what is a match for my animal, like, these medicines specifically. This is what they want." You're now saving hundreds of dollars on trying medicine after medicine after medicine and it not working, when your animal's like, "I just want this one. This is the one that's gonna work." With the trainer, you go to the trainer and you're like, "These are the specific things that are really triggering my dog." You save time and money, and that can change everything.
I, having been through that experience once, I've had pets before, cats before. My first 2, one just disappeared and never came back. The other one, ended up living with my parents, and they unfortunately had to were with her at her end of life. So, as the first pet that had experienced that end of life part, and you do get other denial, "This isn't really happening, it's gonna be alright, it's going to turn round." But I wish I hadn't let others' opinions overtake my own. I had this thing inside that was saying, "I'll know what to do, I'll know what to do." But then it was other people questioning, "Oh, do you think this is the right thing?" That was really knocking me out of kilter. And yeah, I wish I'd listened to that bit or had someone like you or had someone like you.
I mean, for you, it was in this particular situation, which anytime we have this level of emotions, and me included, it's our own sort of intuition can get fuzzy sometimes and we can start
Yeah,
to doubt and even for me, like, it's a practice of like, nope, just coming back to it. It's funny, I wrote a story about this, I think my second book, when I was looking for a new place to live. And I had decided I'm only gonna follow my intuition.
yeah.
And I had 30 days, the place I was staying, they were selling the house. And the housing market here in Arizona is like off the charts for rent and that sort of thing. And instead of sort of being the old me of I'm gonna get on every website and I'm gonna do all the things and I'm gonna like be stressed at that, I was like, nope, I'm gonna do it different. And
Mm,
I'm only gonna get on and look where I'm told to look. I'm only gonna talk to the people that I'm told to talk to. And it was hard, and the people around me freaked out. That's what was so interesting, and, like, that's why I wanna speak to because I was like, "Nope, this is what I'm gonna do," and they were not okay with it. They were doing saying the things to you in this situation that they were like, "Are you sure?" Like, they were more worried about it than I was. Which is so interesting because then you get to see the behaviors and the beliefs of the people around you and see where they are in their journey and how they project their stuff. Like, no judgment in it whatsoever. Just you really, really get all these awarenesses that come in a really challenging personal situation, right? So
mhm,
you're in this where you're like, this is my baby trying to make these decisions, and you're seeing the people around you going, wow, they're talking from their own insecurity. They're talking from their own pain, their own filters, which like I said, it's no judgment, it's just where they are, and it can be really, really challenging, and turns out, like, found a place, like, was the process comfortable? No. Like, because people think that, like, when you're intuitive and say they're like, it's like, no, 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 it's actually more uncomfortable when you have gifts because you see more things. It's not
yeah,
easier. So I just wanna let you know, like, you're not alone in that, And that's one of the muscles that we get to grow, like our intuitive muscle. Like that's one of the things I do on the human side of my business is intuitive mentoring. It's one of my favorite things to do is to teach people like what their specific gifts are, how to use them, when to listen, grow that muscle so that when they're in these kind of situations, they can go, "Yep, that's them. I know. This is my baby." And like I said, you also have society's beliefs of you know, people saying, "Oh, but we have these checklists and this is happening and that's happening." And, it's one of the things I speak to is not every animal fits into a checklist,
Yeah.
particularly if we have really strong spirited ones. Pip was there mentally and emotionally, like right up to the last second. But, he was like, we're good. I'm saying it like he was fully there, and it makes it really, really hard, but I knew this is what he wanted. And so that's one of the things that an animal communicator can offer also because they can be confusing if your animal is still walking around looking fine and, maybe not eating as much, but sleeping more, but they're still like in there, right? That spark in their eyes. We can still provide that information of like, that's not going to go away. Like that's still going to be there, but this is what they're saying they want.
And so we've talked about the benefits for the people, for the owners. So what are the benefits for the animals? So for the pets that are transitioning for the
Is that they well, one, I would just like in general, the biggest benefit for them is that they're actually being seen and heard.
yeah.
Their voice is being heard, right? Like as humans, we know what it's like when someone actually gets us and listens to us and is
Yeah.
really seeing and hearing us. It's the biggest gift you can give someone. And so for animals, when they get to have the floor and be like, these are all the things that I wanted to say, and these are, and even like funny stories and good that like a lot of times when we're having sort of these end of life sessions, we're crying and laughing. Like it just switches back and forth because they'll tell a funny story or they'll be goofy about something. And then we're crying because they're expressing how much they love, their pet parents and then they're talking a lot of times if it's a multiple pet household, then they're like, "Oh, but this one has always annoyed me. I just want you to know that. Like, we live together, but I can't stand when he does it." Right? So you're like laughing through the tears. And so really a chance to be heard and to say the things and have their humans understand them. Like I get to be the translator, the bridge, whatever you want to call it, but that's the biggest gift that they get. And also because they care so much about us is they then get the gift of being able to truthfully teach their humans through this process.
Yeah.
They are very much caretaking us through this process, and that is really important to them because
Mm.
like I said, they don't want us carrying around guilt, what if, stress, any of that. Like they're like, we don't want that. So they have that chance to be able to express all of that in those sessions, and that's a huge gift to them also.
Mm.
It's a bit like there's a lot that goes on in these sessions. Like a lot of times they fall into like teacher mode. We'll be talking about relationships. They'll be like, "Hey, this guy you're dating, I know I'm going to be leaving, so I'm not going to be around, but there's some things he does that I don't like." And so it can be all kinds of stuff. Sometimes they sign on to be your spirit guide. And so they are going to show up and be teaching you lessons just like the rest of the members on our spirit guide team. But there's a lot of times they fall into teacher mode also.
Yeah. I'm totally on board with that because I think they seem to come to our lives to teach us something.
Mhm. And it doesn't go away when they're not in body anymore. Like, they're like, "I'm not done because we're still here, right? We're still here in body." And they're like, "I still gotta teach the human. Like, these cute little humans, we have to teach them things because 'cause they're just so adorable, and they just don't know." And so, yes, they're always our teachers.
Yeah, right up until the end. I think that those last few minutes, those last few minutes with Lenny, eh, he taught me about courage and bravery, I think, and just letting go, and it was hard, but in that moment, there was acceptance. This is happening. It's not gonna change. There's nothing I can do. I've done all I can. But I can help him be comfortable now, and Alicia, Eddie wants to say something. He's at the door. He's-
Well, let him in. I mean, he doesn't physically have to be. I mean, that's one of the things. Anyone, if you don't know, animal communication is done virtually. And so that I have clients all over the world. So anyone listening, if you're in another country, which I mean, you're in another country from where I am, but like we meet through Zoom. And so I don't have to be in your home if you want to have a session. But Eddie showed up earlier. Like you said, before we started recording, she was like, he never comes in here. And I was like, oh, that's normal. Whether I'm in your house physically with my friends or in a session, they're like, the animals show up. So
he's
let
big-
him in.
so I think he wants to come in and say hello.
He's so super cute. Look at him. Oh my gosh, I love him so much. He's so precious. Look at how squishy he is. Like my kitty Romeo, his lie is a name because he is not snuggly at all.
You
And
are.
so every time I see a snuggly one, Pip was my kitty that transitioned. That's all we did was snuggle. And now I have one who's like, why are you touching me? What did I tell you? We get 30 seconds a day. Why are you touching me again? You're over your quota.
Oh, he wants to be cuddled all the time.
Yeah. He's so cute.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
He's
beautiful cat.
you've all been talking about me for the last however many minutes. I need to make my appearance. So this one you will have to like post the video so
Yeah.
people can see him. Remember we talked about how they're teachers? Just saying.
So, what are your hopes for the future, and where do you think your work will take you, or are you just going with the flow? I can't believe we've been talking this long
Oh
already.
my gosh, you're right. Oh, that's crazy. That's
But this
fun. I
happened
mean, I'm
to us
not surprised.
this
Yeah.
happened to us last time.
It did. I was like, this is when we did the pre-interview, we were like, oh my gosh, we both have to go. I was like, I think we could talk all day. So both are true. I always do my best to go with the flow. I do get in my own way a lot. That's one of my personal life path challenges to shift. So I always follow like wherever it is that I'm guided to. And, particularly in the animal side, one of the things that has come up recently is trying to reach more people, like we talked about, of like, don't wait. Like I get a lot of people where they've tried everything else and then they find me. And it's like, you don't have to tolerate things. Like things don't have to be so horribly bad before you come see someone like me. Like come earlier, don't wait because your life can be very very different. And so that's one of the things that actively as well as intuitively where I want to go as far as reaching people and that sort of thing and shifting and changing because animals are my world and any place I can make pet parents and their animals happier, healthier, have a different relationship, be doing all the things that they really want to be doing. That is my passion and my purpose. And for the human side of my business, it's interesting. I'm like, because some of that has shifted. I'm still waiting on the rest of the information of like, where are we going with that? Because I do like 6 different things. Like I do mentoring and readings and mediumship and energy work and coaching and all that kind of thing. And so it's all encompassing. And so we shall see where it starts to go because I have been fortunate enough to be on your podcast, which allows me to reach more people and get my message out there. And I am super, super grateful for that. And for the work that you do in this world, you are amazing. And the world definitely needs people like you as well. And so thank you for doing what you do.
Oh, thank you, Alicia. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a joy, and I don't want to go. I just want to sit and talk here forever, but we can't. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And to everyone who listened, thank you so much. Please support Andrea and all that she does and share her episodes. And if you're not having a challenge with your pet right now, but you know another pet parent it is, please share the episode with them and reach out. I'm here to help.
That was a really fascinating episode with Alicia. Often before I do the podcast recordings, we have a pre-recording chat, and it didn't cross my mind that I would actually talk about my own experiences of losing a pet. Sometimes stories are difficult to tell, but in a moment we can come across the right person and it's the right time to share those stories and say what needs to be said and heard. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Connection Compass podcast. If you think it will help someone else, please leave a review. If you're interested about finding out more about Alicia's work, please visit the show notes. And if you have any questions, please visit Andrea L. Evans' Facebook page. And remember to keep talking, keep connecting for a more interconnected world.